Oh.
Now I am, Miguel. Now I am recording the class. Thank you for the reminder. And I uploaded the file in a place called Materiales de Clase. I'm going to try again to load the Word file. This time in the tab called General.
I don't know where is that.
You don't know where that is?
It says Mayflower Compact Reading Comprehension.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's here.
Can you inform the rest where they can find it, please?
Yes, you go to Teams, Equipos, and then you go to this ramo, and then you go to archivos or files, I believe, and then it says materiales de clase. There it is.
Okay, did you all get that? Rocio, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
You have the three dots, and then you press it, and it says the options download.
Okay,
And
thank
you
you.
download. You're welcome.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks so much. So you have a document, which is a Word file. Did everyone, I mean, did all of you get access to it? Anyone who didn't?
I didn't.
Who's I?
Maria Paz.
Maria Paz.
I just answered the questions that were on the the original Mayflower compact that has the story, and I answered those questions. But I also don't have access to the LMS yet, so that's it.
Maria Paz, your email address is
maria.alarcon@alu.cm.cl.
okay.
I'm gonna send this file in the group, the
Thank
WhatsApp group,
you.
if you want.
Okay,
Please.
and yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So
WhatsApp.
Okay, thank you for all the help that you can provide. I sent the document to Maria Paz in the to her email, but all the help is welcomed.
Okay. Yes, I already find it anyway.
Wonderful. So, okay. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to project it or share it with you just in case. Okay. So let's see who's in the house. We have Alejandro, Belén, Carla, Carlos, Catalina, Daniela, Diana, Javiera, Laura, María Paz, Martín, Mauricio, Miguel, Nicole, Rocío, and Romina. Yomali is not here. We're going to ask her to join the group. And okay, these are very, very easy questions for you. So I apologize for insulting your intelligence, all right? But it's a good way to start. Easy peasy, all right? The first question, can anyone get that?
Isn't it King James?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, King James. King James, who? King James, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. You know, they just like the Pope, they get the same name and they get like sort of a number to specify which Pope, which King, which George, which John. Just King James. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just King James.
Okay. Does anyone remember why King James is a famous king? And does anyone know any connection that King James has with religion? No? Okay. We'll see at some point his connection with religion or why we should even care about King James. Okay, but it's an important king in terms of some of the things that were carried out during his kingdom, his ruling period. Um, Number two, and does anyone care for that one?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that, well, I wrote Ireland, England, France, and Scotland, but there is three nations, so I'm not sure.
Okay, which one should we keep?
I think that we should keep England, France, and Scotland.
England,
France,
France, and Scotland.
and Scotland, yeah.
Okay. Do you all agree with that choice?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read in the document that it was Great Britain, France, and Ireland. I'm not sure.
Great Britain, France, and
Yes.
Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, I read the same. I mean, adding Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Can you see the
Professor?
document? Yes, ma'am?
Was this King James the same king that forbid the plays in Shakespeare times and started forbidding like many things because of religiousness?
I think so. I think so.
Maybe that's the connection between the king and the religious.
That's one. Yes, that's one. Very good. Very good. That's one connection we can make between religion and King James. That's one. Exactly. Very good. There's also another one. Can you see the document I'm sharing with you, which is the Mayflower Compact?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then we can confirm the Britain, France, and Ireland, right? Okay.
Yes.
Let me go back to the the Word document. Okay. Here we go. Number three. Who would like to take care of that one?
Is it northern of Virginia?
Mm-hmm. Do you all agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Are you all familiar with the Virginia Company?
Yes.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay. Because the land was chartered. The territory in this new world was given to a company called the Virginia Company, and the Virginia Company would have a joint venture, meaning that they would take people to this new world being subsidized by the king. So they would do it actually for financial purposes because they would make money out of it, and they would take these people, mostly pilgrims, but not all of them, because some of the people who went to this new world were looking for an adventure, were trying to be rich, to have that lucky strike, Some of them were escaping from not just religious, from a religious persecution, but from actually money debts. So they had this, they saw this as a new beginning, as a new opportunity. And the Virginia company was given a specific area in this new world. And the pilgrims were supposed to be heading a specific area where the Virginia company was given power to rule. They were given jurisdiction in a specific charter of this land. So the jurisdiction was only applied or only applied to that particular piece of land. And that's where the Mayflower ship was bounded to that specific area. But if you read the in the website US History or watched videos about the Mayflower ship, there were a couple of storms that got them lost. So they finally did not end up in the place where they were supposed to land, but they moved a little bit north to a different area that we're going to see later. Okay, so that's something about history that you can read about. The next one, number 4. Where did the Pilgrims sign the Mayflower Compact?
In the ship.
In the ship,
the
exactly.
Mayflower?
In the Mayflower ship, exactly. And that's an interesting fact because they didn't get off the ship, but they decided to create this covenant, what's called in a biblical sense, this contract, this social contract that forced them, I mean, democratically speaking, forced them to have a body of laws before they set foot on the land. So before getting off the ship, they realized that they needed a piece of work connected with laws. Because you remember that the Virginia company had jurisdiction on an area and they landed in a different area. So there was no jurisdiction for them. So how were they going to rule themselves? They decided that they had to create this social contract called the Mayflower Compact. And all of them endorsed it. They said, yes, we think that we are going to rule ourselves through this Mayflower Compact because we are out of the jurisdiction of the Virginia Company. Okay, so they decided that before, getting off the boat, the ship, looking at the place, and then many things happen. Maybe some of them could have decided to go to a different area, others could have decided to stay, others could have decided to go hunting and maybe be killed by beasts, wild animals, or the locals. So they decided that while they were on the ship, while all of them, all of the members were present to make a democratic decision. So that's why it's important the where, still in the ship. Number 5, anyone is keen on answering number 5?
Teacher,
Ma'am?
I have a question. I don't know if you already mentioned the second connection of King James and religion. No?
Go on.
It could be the fact that he authorized the translation to English of the Bible.
Absolutely, exactly. That's a second connection, important connection. Okay. Wonderful, exactly. Because it's a translation of the Bible. The translation of the Bible, a very prominent book document for a lot of people in the world at that time, and very important to us these days. So yes, that's another connection with religion and King James. Wonderful. We're very well done. Thank you. Anyone interested in number 5, which is quite easy?
It is the 11th of November of 1620.
I think so. What do you think?
Yes, it is.
It is, right? It is. Carlos, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm trying to recognize voices. Sometimes it's very easy, sometimes not. Okay, so forgive me if I make a mistake. Number 6.
I have by the grace of God, defender of the faith, and for the glory of God.
Wonderful, excellent. Any other that or that's all you agree with?
Here it also says, and the advancement of the Christian faith in honor of our king and country. A voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. Maybe that was the main reason they started the colonies. Even though afterwards it changed, the aim changed a little. But at first, according to this text, it was because they wanted to spread the Christian faith and, let's say, save, I believe, these people who didn't have God in their hearts or didn't know God at that time.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. That's a very important section in the document that connects the original purpose, which was spreading the religion. Yes, spreading the Christian belief that people were going to be saved only by accepting Jesus, right, in their lives. And this was not a selfish purpose, but they wanted this to be known by anyone, that there was only one way to be saved, right, etc., etc., etc. Exactly. That's something that you can see there's in common with not only with the Protestant religion but also with Catholicism. If you remember the Crusades, it was also used as a reason. Some people called it an excuse, right? And has been used. Religion has been used for the purpose of not only spreading the word of God, but also to excuse or cover up economic reasons, right? 7. Anyone interested? Okay, we can skip that. Anyone interested in number 8?
I think I know.
Go.
So there's one part that says, covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic. And also there is one sentence that says, ordinances, acts, constitution, as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony. I think that makes reference to that, like in the sense that they will have to choose their own leaders and decide what laws to have. I don't know if I'm right.
I think so, Mauricio, right? I think so. It's important to define or to I would say ponder about this first document because it's a continuation of we can call it a continuation of the Virginia House of Burgesses. Have you heard about that Virginia House of Burgesses before? Have you read about it? Anyone would like to share? So the Virginia House of Burgesses was an institution created before. I mean, there was a different group of immigrants, a group of pilgrims who traveled before. Well, there were a couple of expeditions, some of them landing in Virginia, some of them landing in Massachusetts, right? Some of them having a strong leadership and some of them a weak one, a weak type of government. And they had an impact in the preservation of the lives of the Puritans that arrived, you know, with a weak government, with a weak leadership. Usually, not the best decisions are made. So, if you're familiar with the story of a Roanoke, it's written like this. The Roanoke expedition. I don't know if you can see the name there, so you can take a look at it later. It's
Yes.
a group. Yeah, it's a group of good. A group of immigrants, a group of most of them pilgrims, that arrived to Roanoke. They stayed there for some time. I'm not sure about the amount of years, months maybe, but the fact is that when the ship came back, they disappeared, and no one knows what happened to the people in Roanoke. Um, it's a complete mystery, a mystery just like the ones, you know, that you can see in programs that cover UFOs, news, deal with conspiracy theories. So it's like,
Yes.
what happened to the Roanoke community? Where did they go? I mean, did they just disappear in the thin air? Where are they? So that's a complete mystery. Go on.
This was a colony, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe they joined the natives in there. Since it's just a supposition, but if you spend a lot of time in a place that you do not know, maybe you get to know the people who were there, like they actually lived there. Maybe they had an agreement, and they saw that it was more beneficial for them to join instead of being separated. Maybe that could have happened.
That could be exactly. There could be a way of surviving in a place in which you reach a point in which you have to make a decision whether to blend with the locals or to or to die in trying to survive fighting them. So instead, probably, yeah, that could be an option. That could be an explanation.
I remember that I saw a video about a theory of the Roanoke community, and I don't know if I remember correctly, but they said that the Roanoke left like a map behind, and in that map it was marked like a place, and it had like a weird draw on it, like they saw something, or maybe it was a ship, and they decided to get on that ship and go somewhere else, and they left a map behind for the people who were coming for them after. I don't know,
I
because
also saw that.
yeah, because I remember that they disappeared after a ship left for another place, and it was supposed to come back, but it took longer than it should. So and when the ship came back with more people, the Roanoke community disappeared, and that's where they found a map. But they never like managed to read the map to get to the place where the Roanoke were supposed to be now. And the theory also said that they were like abducted by aliens, and that the draw was a spaceship.
Exactly. That's a very attractive version of the story, and that's why mysteries are so engaging, right? Because since the final answer hasn't been provided, you tend to look sometimes for the most complicated one. So whether you decide they blended with the local community, took off on a new ship, or disappeared by being abducted, that's still a mystery to be solved, right? Exactly. So the Virginia, I don't know if you, I'm trying to share a website, but I'm not sure if you're still with the PDF file.
We are with the word, the Mayflower questions. That's what
Okay.
I see.
Okay. So I was referring to this. We talk about this Mayflower Compact and its importance, in that a group of travelers, a group of pilgrims who arrived to the New World, decided to create this legislative body, a group of ideas that turned into laws to rule them, because they didn't have any. They were not in the jurisdiction that were supposed to be in, where the Virginia Company was ruling in the name of King James. But we need to understand that before there was a different institution called the Virginia House of Burgesses, which was a representative assembly. And if we consider the different types of monarchies, we think about the kings in Spain, kings in France. They were absolute monarchs. But in Britain at this time, they had a British Parliament, a representative assembly that would sort of be consulted by the king, and that's what that was the way in England. So the immigrants or the pilgrims claimed the same rights. They wanted to have an assembly, a group of people who could decide on what was important for the local reality for them in this new world. So still consulting the major authority, the king, or whatever the king would ascend to this new world, but they wanted to be able to get together on with a specific frequency. I don't know, once a year, twice a year, 4 times a year, to decide on the destiny of its own community. So they created this Virginia House of Burgesses, and that sets an example, because the locals, the people who were living in this new world, had a right to decide, consulting with the authority, but had a right to present their own problems, their own issues, their own reality, and to be able to come up with laws that would apply to them as a local community. So that sets, and if you see the other example of the Mayflower Compact, is basically the same. They are going to create the laws as a group, and that's going to have an impact on their lives in this new world. And that's the basis for democratic system, the basis for the democratic system existing in the United States at this time. So if we want to look for the roots for democracy in the United States, we should go back to the Mayflower Compact, and we should go back to the Virginia House of Burgesses, because those landmarks set what was going to be considered the power of the people making laws to have a positive impact on their own lives. Okay, so that's really why we are reviewing this document in this class. What's the importance or relevance of a compact, of a social contract in a group of people that was arriving to a new world. Okay, they decided that it was important to have a set of rules governing them, not just being into the wild and doing whatever they wanted. How are you going to manage if how are you going to organize a society? I mean, you need something to tell the rest of the community members in which way you're going to interact with each other. Otherwise, you get something like, the movie Lost, the series Lost, or any stories in which you have seen people landing on a stranded island and having no government. So who decides what's best? Like in the book, the Lord of the Flies. Who decides what's best? The strongest, I think, or the group that can get the weapon. The next question, who would like to take it?
Professor? Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Diana. I was thinking that it's probably because of the role that women had at that age. Like, they weren't, I don't know, like capable of signing such a important, I don't know how to say it, but such an important, like the basis of a new society that they wanted to, I don't know, establish in the part. I don't know where it was, in Northern Virginia. So I think that it could have been that, like because of the role they had in the society at that time. Probably.
All right, all right. No, that's good. That's good, and it's based on some part of knowledge and connections, right? With you making. Anyone else has a different or similar answer?
Me,
Who's me?
Javiera.
Javiera, go on, Javiera.
I agree with Laura. With Laura. With Laura. Also, I think it is related with religion too, because the role of women in Christianity, it wasn't that much. I mean, they were participating in it, but they were not at all. I mean, I don't know if I made myself clear.
Yeah.
Just that.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else is interesting?
Me,
Who's me?
Rocio.
Rosia. Go on, Rosia.
Yeah, I think that I believe that at that time, with all this religion hitting so strong into everyone's mind, religion has like a pyramid. So the man is on top. It's supposed to be like this. God is on top. God gives his wisdom to men, and men who marry women have like this role of being a shield of protection for their families. So I think that's could be the main reason why only men could sign this paper, because they were like the representatives of their families. They were in charge. So the wife, at that time, I believe the wife was under the commands of the husband, actually, and the children were under the commands of the father as well. So if the fathers decide on something, the role of the wife and the children were only to accept and do what the husband said. I think maybe that's the reason why the opinion or the signatures of the women were not required.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. That's right. Any other one? Anyone would like to express your opinion, to disagree, dissent, or agree with what
Yes.
which is okay? Go on.
Well, I definitely agree with what Rocio is saying. And having said that, I think that there may be two reasons why women were not part of that situation. And I think it's definitely because of the religious context, as men were obviously attached to having more strength, let's say, and being having a more active role in every decisive situation, let's say. And also I think it's because of you know because of the convention, let's say, or the tendency to think that men have a more logical way of thinking, or a more objective way of thinking, in comparison to women, which still happens nowadays. Let's say that it's a like a sort of androcentric view of thinking, where women are attached to a more subjective or emotional oriented thinking. So I think it may be because of that.
Exactly. Totally agree with you. I think you have summed up the argument quite well, in terms of the relevance of the role of the female role, during the Puritans times. I would like to add that if you focus on the names of the female Puritans, you can find names such as Constance, Patience, um, Hope, Humiliation, um, and also names of female prophets like Ruth. So the names are very important in particular times, even more, because names carry out a meaning and a significance for the bearer. So it's like what I read somewhere. It's like a finger pointing at you, at your forehead, implying the value that you had. So, for instance, women were expected to be patient. They were expected to follow the biblical commandments. They were expected to behave in a specific way. So, what was really important for them was child rearing as the most important role for them. Taking care of the children was one of the female attributes, right? Characteristics, and then they were expected to be patient, to have passive roles, and not to have a leading attitude, specifically in terms of politics or on designing the destinies of a community. So exactly, names is also a way to perceive that women or female Puritans had a very passive role, focused on mainly on child rearing. So that's to add to your wonderful answers. Exactly. Um, Let me see if I can find. I'm going to try to share this with you. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So I'll be waiting for you to start this Kahoot on the Mayflower Compact. After the Kahoot, we take a 5-minute break, like, a bathroom break, coffee break, cigarette break if you smoke. I don't think you're smoking now, are you?
No.
No, probably not.
No.
Oh, you quitters.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm happy for you. I used to smoke, but I quit like for more than 15, 18 years so far. So
Many years.
yeah, maybe a second-hand smoker now. Usually when I meet with when I met with Miss Briseño, Mr. Cardenas outside, that's all my
Okay,
dose.
It's hard to stop smoking when you have so much smokers around.
It is. It takes strong will. We got 12 players. How many are you in the room? You are... Okay. Did the pilgrims need temporary government? Yes, they needed a temporary government. They didn't have one. They were out of jurisdiction of the Virginia Company.
Professor, I couldn't see which one yes or no.
Oh, you couldn't see it?
No, I couldn't answer. Oh, now I see.
Okay.
No me responde ninguna. I'm sorry. I
You
missed
couldn't
it
answer.
again.
They camped at Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock, not Virginia Rock. Plymouth. The Pilgrims were originally bound for Virginia to live in north of Jamestown.
909. 90. Oh.
The answer was true, right? Who's leading? Maria Paz, followed by Alejandro, then Romina, Diana, Miguel. Question number 4 out of 15. Who was the Pilgrim leader?
Oh.
William Bradford, exactly, who also wrote later a chronicle in the life in plantations. The colonies agreed to choose their leaders and make their own. Wonderful. Good job. Clap, clap for everyone. Maria Paz, followed by Miguel, then Romina, Alejandro, and Mauricio. 6 out of 15. Good, 1620. At least the year. You can answer?
I can answer.
Everyone on board the Mayflower ship was a pilgrim. True or false?
False.
False. Some were just looking for an adventure, escaping England. Money makers, immigrants, but not just religious immigrants. Did the king give his approval to the Mayflower Compact?
I don't know. No.
He didn't like it. He didn't approve of the Mayflower Compact. Were all members male in the ship? We're all members. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. We're all members. The ones who signed. The ones who signed.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize. That
No worries.
the ones who signed. How many passengers died on the ship?
Oh. Mm, 45.
45. Yes.
Lot. Oh my.
A big number.
Yes. Mhm.
11.
Okay.
You can make the conversion to kilometers, but it was a long travel, over 2 months, over 60 days. $41. Good for those of you that chose the the green option. 13 out of 15. They were still subjected to the king. They weren't quite independent yet. Just like in Chile, right? Still loyal to the king. All right, King James. So that name's going to stick. You forget Maria Paz is still leading, then followed by Alejandro. Right. And the last one. William Button. I didn't know this one until I read a bit. Maria Paz, congratulations. Belen, Alejandro,
Yay.
clap up for you. It's important to remember that the Mayflower Compact was sort of a 60-day voyage that people had a hard time living mostly under the deck. So only on sunny days they could get out and cook meals on the deck. But the rest of the days they had to stay below the deck, and they had to survive on water and on some cookies that were called hardtack, and it was you didn't have any bathrooms, but only a bucket. So many of them probably got got very sick. It wasn't a pleasant travel. That's my point. So let's take a 5-minute break, and after the break, we're going to go on with the second reading assignment, which was Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, a 5-minute break.